Trevor Haken was an amazing character in that he had had no formal undercover training or experience, and yet he would, it'd be fair to say, one of the best undercover operatives I've ever experienced.
It was just business as usual in relation to the deep corrupt activity in which he was involved, but also the fact that what he was doing was deadly dangerous. Deadly, I mean, dangerous.
It was important to us that we protect Trevor, but it was also important that we corroborate him and to do everything that we could as a professional investigation unit. We were, after all, investigating the New South Wales Police Service.
Once he had agreed to assist the Royal Commission, it was a matter of debriefing him about all of his criminal activities, and that went back to 1969 when he joined the New South Wales Police. We never had any idea of how savage or how entrenched the corruption that had gone on.
What Trevor revealed went far beyond King's Cross. He outlined a virulent pattern of decades-old corruption in police commands and task forces that extended throughout Australia.
He was a hider in the sense that he pointed us in many directions of where illegal activity was taking place in the police service. Late in 1994, Trevor Haken had a conversation with a leading drug trafficker in King's Cross who was bemoaning the fact he was having to pay senior police through an intermediary. So Trevor Haken's job was to approach acting chief superintendent in charge of a drug task force. What the superintendent did not know, of course, was that Trevor Haken was wearing a microphone. So by early 1995, we were gathering evidence against extremely senior officers of the force, up to Assistant Commissioner and Chief Superintendent. It was disturbing. Illegal activities were existing at extremely senior ranks.
Towards the end of the year, we had to go public. We had to start demonstrating our presence. But the new challenges that arose concerned how could we keep using Trevor, keep recording and remain covert.
The Commission today proudly unveiled its public arena, its hearing room.
Today is an historic day for the people of New South Wales. As long ago as the days of the Rum Corps, there have been complaints about the honesty and integrity of the state's police officers.
This morning, Commissioner Mr Justice James Wood convened the inquiry. Senior Counsel assisting Gary Crook QC urging anyone with information from within or outside the police service to come forward.
The message of this commission is a Merry Christmas to all honest police. Any others can make their own arrangements. It is hard to balance what is covert and what is overt. One has to be very careful not to compromise what is an ongoing covert operation by some reference or action in public hearings.
So the public hearings, in a way, were a distraction from what was going on behind the scenes.
One of the first called into the witness box was Police Commissioner Tony Lauer.
I said, Mr. Lauer, I want you now to deal with your current day perception. Where are we today in relation to any corruption problem in the New South Wales Police Service? And Mr. Lauer replied, today's police service, institutionalised corruption does not exist.
So to the agenda.
The attitude of the Police Commissioner was that the Royal Commission was a needless waste of money and a diversion of the police from their necessary day-to-day activities.
Lauer made his point by showing charts of police commands, proven to be clean.
One of them that came out completely green as being completely above reproach and an example of excellence was the patrol at King's Cross.
The hearings at the end of that first year also gave us an opportunity to test what we came to refer to as the wall of silence. And one example of that was Neville Scullion. Question: have you ever been offered any money at all during your years at King's Cross? Answer: no, I haven't. Never? Ever? Answer: never. Question: nobody has ever offered to bribe you to turn a blind eye to anything at all? Answer: that's correct.
Jesus Christ. Okay, put my hands up or what?
Bill Bayeh was another one of those at King's Cross who ran an establishment as a legitimate basis for marketing his drugs. He was one of the persons who was paying money regularly to Trevor Haken, and he was one person who we believed could tell us something about corruption at King's Cross. And we wanted to give him an opportunity to do that before the year was over, that is, before the first year of the Royal Commission, 1994, was over. And so he was called to the stand and was asked directly by me, Mr. Bayeh, have you paid any money, either directly or indirectly, to police? Answer: no. Are you quite sure about that? He said, yes. Have the police ever asked you for money? He said, no. Never? Ever? Answer: no. In effect, there was a demonstration of a bond between police and drug dealers, that they were prepared to lie to protect each other.
So there was a degree of confidence out there that they could beat people such as us, and we had to prove to them that they couldn't do that.
If he hadn't fronted the Commission today, Detective Inspector Fowler would have been arrested. Yesterday, Commissioner Wood found the detective's excuse that he'd injured himself when he slipped on a milkshake to be lacking. In considerable pain, the policeman, known to his colleagues as Chook Fowler, took the witness stand. Under scrutiny, his time in charge of detectives at King's Cross.
Have you ever received money as a bribe as a police officer, Mr. Fowler? Answer: no. Question: never. Answer: never.
His attack on the Royal Commission and on Gary Crook was vitriolic.
I'm disgusted we have sunk this low. For 32 years, I've tried to uphold the law.
And we've gone back to the French Revolution, like you know. Where's justice? Realistically, it's gone back to the Inquisition, hasn't it? I asked him, what do you think of corrupt police, Mr. Fowler? How do they fit into your perception? Answer: I don't know any corrupt police.
While we were actually running hearings, we were still carrying out operations. But we also had to bluff a little bit to make sure that the police didn't close the thing down. So actually what we did was go off on a bit of a tangent up the coast to look at a fairly minor area on the basis that while we're away, they would think, well, they're just playing at the edges and they'll get nowhere, so we can carry on.
In the first hearing of the 3-month-old commission outside Sydney, Justice Wood made his intentions clear.
This Royal Commission is not a war between us and the police service.
So while those public hearings were going on, and there was a lot of criticism by the media that the Royal Commission was not achieving, my staff and I were sort of described as plods and plastic police. It was gratifying that we were gathering extremely important evidence that we knew would come to light.
I don't say they won't fucking do it. And you fucking believe it's back the same fucking thing that happened before, mate. Fucking disgraceful. Fucking disgraceful. So...
Some of the people that Trevor had associated with and who we suspected of being corrupt and who we suspected would feel threatened should it become known had reputations for being very hard men indeed. Another thing that I don't think is appreciated about Trevor Haken and his decision to assist the Royal Commission is that he was not made an offer of anything tangible. He was taking a very big risk. He certainly wasn't promised an indemnity, and for all he knew, and indeed for all we knew at that time, it was possible that he would be prosecuted for some or all of his past criminal activity. Knowing Trevor as I came to know him, and I think as I came to understand the way his mind works, I think, to me, that shows how much he wanted the salvation.
They don't bug cars. They're not going to see a ticket. I said, well, no, for following you didn't pick him up. He said, but I'll take your truck if you want to. He said, no, but he said, we're listening, they don't bug cars. Nobody can say. Why? Yeah. They don't bug cars. They don't bug cars. They only follow cars, right?
We were becoming increasingly aware of how jumpy some of the corrupt police were getting from our general surveillance.
There was an air of paranoia throughout. Rumours circulated in police circles and criminal circles that there was, I think it was described as a pig. He was patted down on a number of occasions as to, at meetings by other individuals who had concerns that he was assisting the commission and they were looking for a microphone.
So that's out the window? That's out the fucking window, mate. Like, he hasn't contacted me. I'm not going fucking near him. Like, couldn't you believe it? I mean, oh, fuck. I was scared. I'm thinking the world's falling apart. I don't know. Well, I don't want to go into that, but I think we can take anything.
The danger was so extreme that his life was at risk. Not only was he dealing with corrupt police officers who, as an everyday situation, are armed, he's also dealing with criminals who are dealing in drugs and to whom it wouldn't necessarily be the first time that somebody has been disposed of.
I'll have to fucking chase him next week just to find out what he's fucking...
Well, it's getting a bit fucking nuts now. Mate, fucking really. I'm more concerned realistically what he's fucking done. Well, he wouldn't roll. No. Hey, don't.
Well, why hasn't he contacted us?
Well, I don't know. Shit.
From time to time in that 9 months, there would be periods when things went extremely quiet, which made us very paranoid that perhaps he had been exposed.
And Bill Bayeh had connections with some very nasty criminals who certainly had the wherewithal to murder Trevor, and there are some who wouldn't have given it a second thought.
Well, I've got money now. I can make plenty of trouble. I'll help them. With wives, with kids. Thank you, wife.
So a balance had to be struck as to what could be done, because Haken couldn't go on being covert forever.
The aim of moving to a public denouement of what we were doing, I guess, was always there at the background, because I knew we had to do something like that for two reasons. First of all, to try and persuade police who were wavering that they're better for them to come on our side.
The King's Cross segment of the Wood Royal Commission commenced on the 26th of April 1995. Drug dealers, club owners and standover men were interrogated about police corruption. Each of the King's Cross detectives were recalled, and accusations of extreme corruption were put to them. Once again, the wall of silence prevailed, but the noose was beginning to tighten.
To those police who are corrupt and know they are corrupt, if you are called as a witness and you lie, or you try to cover up for others, then the consequences for you are likely to be particularly serious. Those who lie to commissions of inquiry such as this must expect significant periods in jail.
June the 5th was an enormous day. It was a pivotal point for the Commission.
It was tense, as I remember it. Just so we can establish a benchmark, Mr. Fowler, it has been your position, hasn't it, that you've never been in receipt of corrupt monies? That's correct. Corruption and you are strangers, in answer. That's correct. I'm now going to show you, Mr. Fowler, a video which is an excerpt of some of the Commission's holdings. When you look at it, there's no doubt going to be a lot of things going through your mind.
It was a time that I will never forget, sitting at the bar table alongside Gary Crook as he called for that piece of film to be rolled, having given Fowler yet another opportunity to admit to any corrupt behaviour, having been confronted with denials yet again. The response from Fowler was truly remarkable, almost as remarkable as the film itself.
Hang in there and shit yourself, you know?
When asked, well, how do you explain these videos, effectively he said, well, you must have got an actor to play my role. I don't think you'd see too many knees like that around the acting profession.
After the video was played to the court, Mr Fowler was asked again if he was not involved in corruption.
Man, thank you. I'll just go to the screen. Yeah.
He answered, that's right. Counsel assisting then asked, why can't you be man enough to admit your involvement?
As far as I understand it anyway. You're happy with that? Yeah. Fucking missile too, the fucking